Hello and welcome to Roll for Topic. Normally this is a roundtable discussion about topics related to role-playing games, but this week we are designing a dungeon live on air. I'm Chris Saltzman.
I'm Andy Rao.
I'm John Corey.
Kyle, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, this is the sound of my voice.
Okay, cool. All right, well, we have the Splatbook with us. If you have listened to this podcast before, the Splatbook is our sister show on the Roll for It Media podcasting network, and we are so happy to have them here. And also, if you've listened to any of these design the dungeons from the previous years, I think this is our fourth one we've done, our third one?
I feel like this is the third, because we
Okay.
did the fantasy one that I really liked, where you got in no problem, but the real adventure was coming back out.
Yeah.
And then we did the sci-fi one, which was a blast last year.
And then there was the fish dungeon.
Yes,
one.
the fish
So
dungeon.
this is
The
number
fish
4.
dungeon.
This is
This
number
is
4.
number 4. I've been on all of them.
Was I involved in the fish dungeon?
No.
I don't think we knew you at that point. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
so this is... Yeah.
We should probably link to those. Right. So the idea behind this, right, just to back up a half step, is that around the holidays season, we like to do this this special. I guess it's an annual tradition at this point, where we in one episode we record us kind of coming up with an idea for an adventure in a dungeon, and then in the next episode we actually run it as an actual play. So for people who are maybe not so familiar with like, well, what is it like when you like what does a GM actually do? This is sort of a nice peek into that world. You can kind of see the flailing for a good idea and then what it actually comes out as later when you put it in front of players.
Flailing for a good idea and what you can actually get your hands on.
Yes, yeah, that too. You just really get your hands around it. So we're going to take probably like an hour and a half or so, and we're going to start from nothing other than like kind of a very simple prompt that I sent these three gentlemen a few days ago. And we're going to end up with an adventure. And I kind of want to put Kyle on the spot because he looks like he doesn't remember what the prompt was.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that you recap what that instruction was for the listeners, because I don't remember receiving it.
From my recollection, it was Western something ... That was that is. I don't know. That's a word. That's barely
it's short. No, it's 2 words and punctuation. It's a whole sentence.
No, the prompt that I sent, and this was somewhat based on the last episode that we recorded, was Old West. So we want to make a Western, kind of like a cowboys, gunslingers, that style of dungeon and adventure. So that's where we're going to start, and we'll see where we end up. So,
all right.
Okay. Is that the only constraint we have, really? Just the genre right now?
The only other constraint that I will throw out there that you all will probably ignore is that I'm going to be running this adventure in a couple of weeks, so I would love it if we could design an adventure that has somewhat of a time constraint to it as well, right? So that's we're trying to aim for something that fits in about a 2-hour play session or so, right? So we don't need to design a town and like a full campaign necessarily. What we're looking for really is sort of a good sequence, maybe like a 5-room dungeon, maybe even a 3-room dungeon. That's sort of what we're aiming for in terms of length.
And by rooms, you mean abstract areas of incident. You don't actually mean rooms.
Yeah, or encounters or whatever.
I've been talking to Kyle too long. My brain. Yeah.
Let's define our terms. What does dungeon mean to everyone? Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, what does it mean? I mean, because the one last year, right? I mean, that had like 20 rooms to it, right?
Yeah.
Like there was a ton of stuff happening, and it was sort of up to the players to sort of figure out which parts of that they were going to interact with. And that was a really fun adventure to run, I will say, right? And it was much more complicated than I think that prompt that I just said would have encompassed. So, all right, well, I will stop babbling at this point, but let's kind of talk through, like, let's define our terms a little bit. Let's kind of pick a location and just like what's sort of interesting to us in that within that prompt of Old West.
I have a opening question for y'all. Do we want to lean into classic Western tropes, or do we want to do something, or do we want to push against Western tropes? Western tropes being 6-shooters, steely-eyed gunslingers, that sort of thing.
My feeling is it's always a good idea to lean into tropes unless you're dealing with like boilerplate fantasy. Because people have a lot more experience with that. I imagine like most people that Chris is going to call on to run through this dungeon will have never ever played a Western RPG. right? It's like, and that's not because there aren't plenty of great Western RPGs. It's just because, fantasy takes up so much oxygen. Mm-hmm. So I think let's get the six guns, let's get the sticks of dynamite, let's get the old prospectors, let's really just lean into it.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the fact that this might be people's first Western RPG. So let's give them the Disney Wildest Ride in the Wilderness tour of the Wild West trope.
They should all be deputized. Like, I mean, this should be we should just pull out all the tropes that we can. Yeah.
I have two thoughts though I'd like to throw in. One is since you said that, and I haven't settled on anything, but I've been thinking. So first off, Andy, I've been listening to The Dark Tower. I'm in the middle of Wizard and Glass right now, so
all right,
that's definitely going to play in here. But also, what other genre can we slam in here to make it interesting? It doesn't have to be cowboys versus aliens, but like cowboys versus ghosts and zombies has been done. The Dark Tower is a fantasy series with it, but instead of knights with swords, it's gunslingers, but in every other way it's a fantasy series. So I don't want to disrupt us right out of the gate, but is there something we want to tweak a little bit there? Or should we just shoot straight, partner?
Yeah. That is interesting. Let's keep that in the back of our minds. I think if we start to run out of steam from our steam engine or whatever, right? We can sort of stop and see what we can bring in. I'm intrigued with that.
I think appropriate pun there.
Yeah. It's always good when you have to call it out specifically. But I think
afraid some of our slower listeners just wouldn't quite catch up on it.
Because I think my fear is just like what Kyle said, right? I mean, I've seen a handful of Western movies, but I'm not I'm not aficionado or anything like that, right? So I think if we introduce and also there's bugbears, right? I'll probably be like, oh well, maybe there should be, let's talk about that, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's hard to bring other genres into the Wild West, I think, without winding up with this sort of Weird West kind of amalgamation setting that has been done a lot of times. And nothing against it. I just this year I've run games in that genre, but I would be kind of interested in something that was pretty straight, pretty straight without zombies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That said, it may prove irresistible, and we want to bring in some cool weirdness into it. But I might vote for at least trying to bias ourselves towards a more realistic setting.
Okay.
Any thoughts?
Yeah,
I'm happy to be talked out of any of these. I'm not going to die on this hill.
The only reason I wanted to bring that up is the one problem with the Western is that it's often a story of vengeance, or the themes of the Western can be kind of solitary and sort of sad, actually, in a lot of ways, especially if all you've seen are Clint Eastwood Westerns, right? So one way, and we're trying to make an adventure that a group of people can play through. So that's the one caveat, is we'll have to tweak it a little bit, because now there's the Magnificent Seven and that kind of thing, and so we could lean in towards that way, which is good. But I just wanted to, most traditional Westerns, High Noon, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, any Clint Eastwood, it's about a solitary person resolving an issue. And it's not really an adventure as much as it is a story. So we do want to lean a little more Magnificent Seven and a little less Pale Rider.
May I pitch you on what I think a really great Western movie to model this after is
Please.
Unforgiven. No.
No.
Is it
good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh,
right?
Yes,
it's multiple people looking for the same treasure, So you have this treasure hunt. You have this automatic urgency and time limit. You don't want these people to get in and get the thing before you can get to it. And it kind of, everybody in there is kind of equally scoundrelrific, nobody's really a good guy, but there's some people, there's Lee Van Cleef, who is definitely the bad guy. And then the other two are kind of well, they're not great people, but they're not as bad as Lee Van Cleef,
That's really interesting. So if we went, we went in that direction, like part of me wonders about when we're creating characters, if there's almost like a vice or like a sin or something, that each player has to choose and kind of play up as part of their character.
Yeah, actually, the character question is a good one. I don't think we want to take like a huge amount of time and build out a bunch of pre-gens, but is this a game where you're going to say, I mean, the characters and their motivations are so important to a good Western story, I think. Mm-hmm. So even if we don't, so what kind of guidance are we what kind of party of PCs do we want to see come to the table here?
Because maybe we want to rob a stagecoach, and that way we can be the robbers. Maybe we want it to be, maybe we're Robin Hood. Maybe this group is Robin Hood, like somebody has stolen something and we want to steal it back and redistribute it. Like you kind of have to decide that, or are you protecting the stagecoach? Just to give an example.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Kyle?
I think one of the things that I loved so much about last year's, the sci-fi one, is like the regular people, more or less, and how that was interpreted. Mm-hmm. So I kind of think this would be really interesting if these were like deputized community leaders. Yeah. That, like the sheriff is was shot by the bank robbers who have, hidden their bank. Maybe they stole from the bank in the town. Yeah. So that's all their savings, money. Right? Yes, exactly.
If they get away, you've all lost your money. There's no credit cards in 1880, right?
That's just it. So they've come back to discover where they buried it because they had to run because the Pinkertons were on their tail or something like that. And they've come back through. They've shot the sheriff. So you're a bunch of pig farmers and pitchfork salesmen who have to go into this creepy abandoned silver mine to go get your life savings back or something.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is lethality, or lack thereof, is important, right? Because part of the mystique of the gun battle is, not hit points so much as who's the fastest draw. Then you kill somebody gets shot and they're dead. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think we need to address that as well. We want the characters to go on an adventure that isn't all about avoiding getting shot, or just not do a strictly hit points 6. We want 6 shooters, but we don't want create a lot of opportunities for death for the characters.
Yeah, so, I think that should be there. And I have a couple ideas. Maybe we should actually talk about a combat rules and stuff later on. But I'm almost wondering, right? Everyone's going to have 6 shooters, right? That style of gun and stuff. And I think allowing those to come out whenever combat happens is kind of interesting to me, right? Because a lot of fantasy D&D style combat ends up being close range stuff. But what if everybody had a gun, right? Really changes how you approach it. And I don't play war games, right? So war gamers are well, yeah, this is what I do all the time, right? But what if everybody had a gun that was sort of hard to shoot and not super accurate? That becomes a very interesting.
What if they only have if you have a 6 shooter, it does less damage. Mm-hmm. And it's less accurate, but you only have 6 bullets. And if you have a double barrel shotgun, you only have 2 shots.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's kind of there's a real risk reward situation.
Yes. Yeah. I like that. Okay. Well, let's table that for just a moment. And I think we need to get the kind of the arc of the story before we start talking about how cool the guns are. Right?
Yeah. I recommend we start charting out the story, and then I think it will become clear once we're ways into the story what kind of rule set is going to go best with what we have in mind. Mm-hmm. And then Chris, if you may be running this, so you'll kind of have your choice of rule sets, but maybe we can make some recommendations in the course of this.
Yeah, that sounds good. So before we dive too far into the story, I guess I'd like to so we touched on it briefly. I'd like to call out the stuff that you feel is the most fun about this kind of setting and stuff, right? So we've alluded to I think the shootout is a pretty fun thing, or a duel Duel at High Noon or whatever. I think like those are two things that stick out to me. The other one that I was thinking about is like, like there's mines and there's mine carts. It'd be fun to do like a mine cart, right?
Mhm.
Right. The mine cart level in every video game is always super fun. So there's those sorts of things. Yeah, I guess what else sticks to y'all about that setting?
Like a chase with a stagecoach and horses, and jumping from the horse to the stagecoach, or the stagecoach running away because the driver has been shot, and somebody having to jump on it and save it. Like I always enjoy that kind of scene.
Yeah, just as long as there's a stagecoach, right?
Yes.
Bluffing and gambling. Not necessarily gambling through a game, although that's an obvious way to set it up. But to me, a lot of the heart of a great Western is that, do you feel lucky punk type of, although that's not really a Western, but that,
it's kind
taking
of a Western.
risk or making a gamble. And trying to,
I think we need a little bit of Sunset Riders in here, where you get like the players just get like a small stack of wanted posters of everybody they're going to be facing down at the beginning of the game. Yeah. So as you go into the next room, it's like a mini boss fight or something like that. So you have this sense of structure and going after like the outlaws that have higher and higher dollar rewards for them.
Oh, nice.
Is kind of like as a way of saying like, okay, this guy's worth, $52 double dollars, like, he's the serious guy. So yeah, like that's what I think. And just like, I don't know, just some like little handouts or something like that would be really fun to mock up for these.
Yeah, that'd be really great. I almost wonder too if the characters themselves could also have wanted posters, right? So if we're going with the a gang comes in or whatever and takes down the law, like maybe they're trying to insert themselves as the law, and they're putting up their own wanted posters.
Maybe maybe the sheriff had to deputize everybody that was in the jail to go after the real bad guy. So that way you can play it both ways. Like they're kind of like, they are either going to have a bounty on their head if they try to leave, or they can have their record expunged if they
it's like
actually
Suicide
bring
Squad,
back
the Western.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually.
Oh, that's a really good setup. Okay, so like like they come in, they kill the sheriff. The sheriff's like dying breath, like maybe the priest is there too, just there's a witness to all this as well, right? It's just like you got to go take care of it, like here's the stack of wanted posters, we know that they have a hideout in the mine the mine on the edge of town.
So what do you guys think we should do about the overall structure? Last year's dungeon that we designed, the space station one, was light on sort of a plot. And it was really more a situation. The PCs had a little bit of guidance about what they were doing, but mostly the PCs were just deposited in an environment that they then got to kind of explore, an environment in which stuff was happening, and they got to explore and bump into the stuff that's happening in the environment. The flip side of this is the more focused, like ones at least one of our past dungeons was a little more focused, and it was more of like a kind of a scene by scene kind of guiding you through a story. Does one of those sound like a more fun way to capture the Western feel to you guys?
Yeah, I think there needs to be, I like the idea of there being some sort of strong antagonist that you get to confront at some point in it, right? Like
bring back the snake oil kid, dead or alive, something like that. Yeah, it's just real this is your goal.
All good Westerns have a clear goal, right? Like like if you think back through the Westerns that you like, or even the ones you don't like even if they are off the goal and they end up doing something else, like they have a clear agenda and something they're trying to accomplish. They don't like to compare it, like the sci-fi one from last year was compared it to the movie Alien, right? It's these normal folks who are drawn into this extreme circumstance. That's what we were trying to emulate. Here, if we're emulating a Western, it's people who may be normal folks who are drawn into the circumstance, but the goal should be clear from the beginning. That's my if we're doing genre emulation, that feels right to me.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it seems like so you could have a couple of intertwined overarching goals, right? So I think there's the like, bring safety to the town. There is the financial gain of like, dead or alive, $5,000, right? Like that. And then there's probably also like whoever, double snake evil guy, like whatever his name is, it's like he might offer you 10,000 to go away, right? Like once you get to him, or something like that, right? So you can have like all these, I think, competing interests too, and maybe each of the players we could, tune them a little bit so each of the players, their characters want different things as well. I think that's going back to the good, bad, and ugly, right? Like everybody, right? Like or just I think a lot of westerns, right? Everybody sort of has their thing that they want, and that's the reason they're out there. It's not just gold, right? It's gold, and also I need to get away from my family. Like, it's
Magnificent Seven also does a really great job differentiating everybody with some kind of like, this is the kind of person I am. This is the kind of past I have to deal with, and here's how the chickens are kind of coming home to roost right now. Yeah. But as far as like the actual thing, I think bring back the snake oil kid, dead or alive, or we will hang you at high noon or something like that. I mean, it could be a pretty serious, and maybe this sheriff isn't like the nicest, best sheriff in the world or something like that. It really just needs to be we have started this, and this is the point of no return. Here is this vague goal. Go into the mines and try to do your best, or kind of like come up with your other plan. But I think as far as the structure is concerned, just coming up with a map of the mine with a couple of different paths and a couple of different rooms seems like a pretty good way to kind of like get you all the way to the end.
I'd also like to.
Oh, God.
I was going to say I'd just like to interrogate the room idea, like rather than rooms, right? Saying in my pretentious way, areas of incident. What if one section of the adventure they have to get through a couple of guys in a mine, and once they're through the other side of the mine, the second entrance, then they have to get through the box canyon, right? But they have to get across the plains where they have the horse chase. So like the incidents are all standard Western settings. That maybe aren't isolated to one single place like a mine, but they're contiguous in the same way a dungeon is, but they're just different Western environments that you would commonly see.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then it also kind of makes, I think, even the travel part more interesting, right? 'Cause it's like the mine's going to be not right in the town, right? It's going to be on the outskirts. So you got to get there.
Right.
I'm wondering if, like thinking about the time pressure thing, like what if the snake oil kid had like said something along the lines of like, take the town, gather up all of your valuables, put them in the middle of the town. We're coming back at high noon. Right. So there's like we're coming back at the specific time is like with all like the entire gang, right, is going to come back in. So then I think then the players can either decide like, do we go hit them before they can come, or do we set up some sort of elaborate like trap for them when they come back in? I think that could be pretty fun too. Although, I could see then we might design this beautiful dungeon that they just
I think you would want to pick
I
one.
would worry
you
the players
would
would
spend
spend
chasing
2 hours
chasing
like plotting 2 hours of kind of tedium while like two tactically minded players like set up a big ambush. So let me throw something out there for a structure and let's react. So what do you guys think about this? It's a tiny town in the Wild West. A crime either has just been committed or it's committed while the PC, or it's the opening scene of the adventure as the crime being committed. The PCs are deputized or otherwise motivated to go deal with the criminals, at least some of whom have escaped. So there is at least one. So there is like a town encounter that's either that might be a combination of like a combat encounter and a social encounter as they work out their deputization. And then a 1 or 2 travel encounters on the way there. And then some sort of like a mini dungeon when they arrive. And Kyle's been mentioning kind of a mine, which is a great Wild West location, What do you guys think about that as a structure? So poke that apart and say what you don't like about it.
I like it because they get to. I like the mind as sort of the end. The mind is a sort of end goal because it does work as a little mini dungeon, but it doesn't restrain them to it. But like the Snake Oil Kid has stolen some stuff, and we didn't know where he put it, but somebody saw him by the mine, so he must be there digging it up. He's gonna get it. He's gonna get it and get out of there. He rode through town, shot somebody on the way to pick up his treasure, found out where it was, and is going to the mine to reclaim it. And now we have to. And on the way, he's set traps, and he's got guys waiting for him and ambushes, and there's all kinds of stuff we can build into them having to do that. That's me saying yes.
We could also Legend of Curly's Gold this and say that this is like legendary cowboy treasure that he's here. If he gets this treasure that he's figured out where it is, he's going to cross the border and we'll never get him for his various and sundry crimes. So and that way we could booby trap the mines with old booby traps and everything that are both part, the evil party and our player characters have to deal with in various ways.
And then we've just been able to give ourselves a Last Crusade style.
Exactly.
Yes.
Rhyming clues about all the booby traps.
Yeah, I think marrying that with what Andy proposed, right? Like the bad guys come through town, they've come back to get the treasure in this booby-trapped mine, and that's when we get deputized and have to follow him. And then we can all have a personal motivation against the Snake Oil Kid, because if he's been here before, somebody's here for vengeance, and somebody just wants the money, and another character, What if?
So what if the mayor has the map, right? Like the mayor has the map, and so like the inciting incident is that this guy goes to get the map from the mayor, kills the mayor, kills the sheriff on the way out of town, right? And then it's like, like everybody knows the mayor has a map, right? And like he never lets anyone see it, right? Like so there's sort of like a plausible reason like why he's going to do this and why you're just like one step behind. I think like I don't want it to be like the Snake Oil Kid has had plenty of time to plan this, right? It's like I got to go do it now, and everybody's coming after me now. Right, like that puts a little bit of heat, I think.
That makes me think of doesn't Treasure Island isn't the map to Treasure Island like hanging in the inn, and it's just a piece of background decor until Long John Silver and other pirates show up and steal it because it's actually the map to Treasure Island or something. I may be misremembering that.
If you invoke Treasure Island, like I'm in.
Yeah,
do that.
And it's like if we are in, I don't know if pirates were over in, but if we are kind of like in Zorro, California, like area, like we could just have this be like really super old gold from like Curse of Capistrano days. Like we could just go like straight up Treasure Island with this if we wanted to.
That's fun, right? So like I don't want it to be like like the real treasure was the friends we made along the way, right? Like there's got to be treasure, right? It's got to be something. Like just gold, even if it's old pirate gold, right? Like I don't know, that's not as interesting to me. I think I like it being like I don't know, the crown of the dead king from like like something like that, right? It's got to have like a little bit of a spin on it. Like maybe it's like the Snake Oil Kid thinks that it's he deserves it too, right? It's not even just that like he's getting the treasure. It's like that's mine, right? Because it's in my family.
Yeah, and I think it has to be stolen. I just want the treasure to have some sort of investment for our PCs, to have them want it for some reason other than gold, which I think is what you're saying, right? Like,
yeah. So if they get it back, are they super rich or are they lauded as heroes, right? Like, do they have to hand it over to the U.S. government, right? Like at that.
I mean, I think that's kind of the big question. I think can they get their freedom? So like the treasure is kind of like that is the bonus. What they're actually tasked to do to win their stay of sentencing is to bring back the leader of the gang, dead or alive. Yeah. And then can they then kind of like as a denouement, can they smuggle the treasure out of there without anybody knowing that they still have it, right? Like, I think that is kind of like a nice little like bow, a cherry on top that the PCs can kind of argue about, or shoot every last. So it sounds like they have one last shootout at the very end to see who gets the treasure. That's very good. The bad,
we'll see what happens.
So maybe I've got Treasure Island on my mind here, but what if what are we calling him? Snake Oil Kid.
Snake Oil Kid.
Okay.
I'm not sold on Snake Oil Kid.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. But I mean, could he have a history with this town or something? Like, what if he was part of a gang what if all this gold belonged to the town, and 10 years ago he was part of a gang that stole it and hid it somewhere, and then the gang never came back to get it, and the town never, I don't know, and now he's back in town on his way to find it. I'm just trying to think of reasons why, I don't know, just to give it a personal thing beyond I could get really rich if I got my hands on that gold.
So to riff on that, right, like so it was the town's possession, he stole it, he hid it, so somebody else has come back with a map, but like somebody who might actually have the town's interests at heart, like another cowboy comes back and says, look, I found this map that shows where the Snake Oil Kid hid it. Who wants to help me? The PCs volunteer, get deputized. As soon as they do that, the Snake Oil Kid rides in, shoots the guy, takes the map, and takes off. And now the PCs have to take him. Now the PCs have to follow him.
I would. The problem with that I see is I think the PCs should start in jail, so they can't actually kill the final boss in the first scene of the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's just, I make a Molotov cocktail and set the final boss on fire.
No, you have to listen to this part.
Yeah.
This is a cutscene.
Skip cutscene. Molotov cocktail.
So
you're right. And then I just think about, but the rest of that could still work with them in jail. But yes,
I think the issue that we're running into here is we are giving all of this color and backstory and motivation to the villain without actually planning out this adventure at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Yeah. Andy, do you have a thought? If not, like, we just try to let's pull back and.
I don't think so. Why don't we try and let's just nail down the opening scene, the opening section of this adventure, and then I'm sure lots of background flavor will occur to us as it goes. But so Kyle, you just said you wanted the PCs to start it in jail. So I would like the PCs to be able. Well, so here's my argument for letting the PCs like wrangle with the bad guys in the opening scene. We don't want them to kill the big bad guy in the opening scene, of course. But what could the PCs do in the opening scene that will affect the way the rest of the adventure plays out, besides just accept or not accept the offer? Like, do they have a chance to whittle down the gang's number? Like, are some of the gang, straggling behind or looting the town, and the PCs have a chance to cross off a couple of names off of the bad guy's gang? Or I don't know. I would love it if the PCs don't just get a mission, but they are like hurled into some sort of tense encounter.
What if the bad guys have taken over the stables? So the only way to get a horse to get to the bad guys in time, they have to confront the minions that are kind of like guarding all the horses in town.
So there's your first encounter, right? Like, like we can have the cutscene and in jail or out of jail, they get, okay, go get those guys. And then that's the first thing they have to do. And that addresses Andy's concern, right? Like, let's take out a couple of minions to start and gives us an opportunity to have some action right out of the gate.
Yeah. And that also gives the chance of running it to sort of like, here's the tutorial mission too, a little bit.
What interests me, I was going to say, what interests me about this is what I would like is I don't want the opening scene to be the sheriff comes over and unlocks your cages and lets you all out, and you sit down and he gives you a briefing. I want it to be like the sheriff chucks a rifle at you and says, if you want your freedom, you can have it, but you've got to stop Snake Oil Joe or whatever, something with like action and intensity right off the start.
Maybe if as the bad guy comes in and shoots the sheriff, like, he, as he's pulling his gun falls out of his hand and into the cell.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a tense moment. So they're hearing this, they're seeing this kind of delivery moment, and maybe they can take a pot shot. But again, we run the risk of them icing the bad guy. So it has to be like the second in command or something like that.
But like they could be in the cell, right? Have all this happen out the cell window. Have the sheriff run in and be like, the Snake Oil Kid is back and he's hunting his treasure. We've got to hunt him down.
Mm-hmm.
The sheriff gets shot in the back and sprawls on the floor, or he just tells them, throws a rifle at him and says, "Go out there and get some horses and follow him." Right? Like the action of I've decided that. How about the Sidewinder Kid? First of all,
ooh, okay.
So
how about the Sidewinder Kid is they're watching him out the window, but the first thing they have to do is grab the rifle from the sheriff and go get those horses.
So the Sidewinder Kid rolls in. So it makes sense to me. He would leave some guys in town to make sure he's not followed. So he's booking it with the map. And I mean, I can see him, he points to 4 guys and says, make sure no one follows. And then they circle back, and that's who the PCs have to deal with in some way. Does that work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Why? Okay. So the thing that I'm struggling with is, why do they have to be in jail, right? Like the sheriff could stumble into anything, right? Like he could stumble into the bar, he could stumble into the inn, right? He could stumble into the jail, right? Like I think there's something strong about the idea of starting in a jail. So I'd like there to be some sort of.
I don't know. It works for Elder Scrolls, but we.
I like. Who am I to argue with Elder Scrolls?
It gives us a nice frame and onboarding for characters to kind of like not be these like unmotivated goody two shoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they are fighting for their lives, and they can kind of play some kind of weird Western criminal or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's a good setup, and it allows for some kind of level of characterization similar to that Prison Break game that you guys wrote and we played on Splatbook, the sister show of Roll for Topic. Check out more at thesplatbook.com. But there's this moment. It's like, what are you in for? And then did you do it? Is kind of like a really interesting way to add characterization in character creation at the very beginning.
Yeah, and I think someone could choose that I'm in because I'm like it's like a drunk tank situation, right? Like they, like it's not like everybody's there like some sort of hardened criminal, right? Like maybe there's someone.
I think as long as we have a good range of people in the jail and they're not all just like banditos, why? And I think there could be some fun stories in here. One of these, one of the PCs is like a housewife. What is she doing in the jail? Like there's a story there. And then as long as we can accommodate a wide range of PC types, and because really we want the PCs to like embody these archetypes that you see from Western movies, right?
I think that'll be up to the
the old prospector who hit his partner with a shovel.
We're gonna have 5 old prospectors,
and I like to further
prospectors.
I like to further propose that maybe that we don't need to finalize that here. Like one of the things we did last year was do the pre-gens post episode, and so I think we can say you're all in jail, and then we'll sort of do pre-gens that meet Andy's requirement of being diverse.
For sure.
Yeah. Good idea.
So
let's work on this opening scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I think we're already on to the third scene, but I'm not running the game, so
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like
this first scene is somewhat complicated, and I think that's okay. But I also like the just over the top action starting from, like at the top. Like, I don't think Sidewinder Snake Oil Sidewinder kid should be there. I think there should be rumors of him leaving town. So I think that's solid, right? Like maybe one of his deputies comes in to shoot the sheriff, right?
The Sidewinder gang.
Also like the idea of the jail being on fire as well, right? Like maybe they lit half the town on fire or something like that, right? So like there's total chaos as well, and it's like, well, like we'll take care of the fire, you go get them.
Yeah, but I think the structure is there, right? Mm-hmm. The Sidewinder kid has come to town. He's created a ruckus. The players are in jail. They get let loose on the condition that they track him down, and so that's our opener. And then they have to deal with the henchman he's left behind, get horses, and head on out. And that's our opener.
What okay, so the thing that like kind of slows everything down in my mind is like, does the sheriff throw him keys? Is there some sort of button that he hits to like let them all out at once? Like, right, like there's he's shot in the shoulder or something like that. He tosses him keys, says, if you bring in the Sidewinder kid, dead or alive, I'll expunge your record. You'll be exonerated as heroes, but you got to get going before he skips town. I think it's as simple as that. Is he dead? Like, is he dying?
No, he's not in shape. He's not well enough to go after. He can't ride a horse, and he also isn't well enough to go after where all the horses are in the first place.
Yeah. Okay. I think that makes sense. So like maybe they're just in one big cell or something like that. So it's like a little bit less. So like he stumbles in, slams the key in the jail cell, opens it up, and says like this is your chance to get exonerated. Also, everything's on fire. Like go kill him like that. Do we need to have so like that's a really like strong start. Do we need to then have like the get the horses scene, or do they just have horses at that point? And then
I think the next scene
depends a little bit what the bad guys are doing in the town. So like what would a group of bad guys be doing in the town at this point? So they got the map and they know it's on the way. It's away with the gang leader. So one way you stop pursuit is you take horses out of the question, right?
Yeah.
So there would be urgency, I think, if I am kind of interested in giving the bad guys like, there's like two teams of bad guys and they're each doing something that's going to hurt the PCs. So the PCs need to decide quickly what do they care about more. Maybe one group of bad guys is going to, I don't know if it's realistic that like all the horses would be in one place, but if it's a small enough town, maybe it is, so maybe one group of bad guys is going to go set the stable on fire or release all the horses or just cause chaos. And I don't know what the other group would be. Maybe the other group is hunting around,
they would be gathering supplies if they're getting ready to flee to Mexico.
Yeah,
they need all the booze and hardtack they can lay their mitts on.
Maybe there's a looting. One squad is looting and the other squad is trying to. I don't know.
If they're eliminate pursuit by setting the horses free, I like that a lot.
So if they're looting, I guess so that's just gonna have to be sort of background, right? Like you don't really want the PCs to stop to do anything about that point, right? Because like the inciting action that we're trying to drive them towards is like go chase down the side piece kid.
I think the thing that I like about this first town encounter is when it's a very different tone. Because it's like you can do a social encounter here versus if you're at the hideout in the mines, they're going to assume you're there to stop them, right? So this is your chance to try to and may I interest you in a game of chance, that kind of like weird stuff you can do in this, like they feel like they're on top of the world. They have all the cards, but here come our plucky PCs with a cockamamie plan. And then after that point, they have to kind of like be ready with to pull iron. Yeah.
So is there two quick things. First of all, kind of like the idea of like having I like that idea of wanted poster for like every member of this gang. Yes. And then you tear it in two or something, or you hand it to the players with each time they drop a goon, that you're, and then you honor that by having that person not be present, like later on in the mine or something.
Yeah.
What about is there like a quirky second in command who's here in town? It's like a kind of a real flavorful villain that they can engage with, and by either through combat or by some sort of wacky social encounter or something like that.
Yeah, there is a Two-Face style guy with like a coin that he flips. Like so they walk up to they walk up to get the horses, right? And he's just like, he's like heads or tails, and like flips it, right?
Yeah, like he can't resist a certain kind of challenge.
Yeah, what if it's cards? Like, what if he's like, I mean, just so that we don't get sued by Warner Brothers or whatever. What if, what if he pulls the card off the top of a deck, and if like depending on what house it is or something like that, he takes some action. I don't know.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah. If his name is like High Card Clyde or something like that.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, they could do a simple draw game, like a simple draw high card game. He's like, I'll let you go if you can draw higher than me, or some sort of, and we could sort of work out the details, but like there's an opportunity to engage him in a way that isn't just combat.
That could be really fun. And that would let the PCs, so if the PCs don't want to take that bait, they can just start shooting. But
then they're down bullets.
Yeah. If there's at least, if there's at least one PC, who's a gambler or something like that, this would give them a chance to shine too.
Okay.
But I like your resource management attitude here, Kyle.
Bullet accounting is a key factor. Because you want it to be this tense thing at the end, and you also have to have like all of these like, dangling chandeliers or like dynamite crates hanging by a thin thread, like very shootable objects.
Yes. Really time crisis.
Yeah. The old Mad Dog McCree situation.
Yeah, so I like that, and it could be this sort of thing too, where he's like he makes you play for every horse that you want.
Yeah.
Right. Something. So it's like you get like keep on, and I'll have a physical deck too, right? That I'm flipping cards off of. Like we'll play it straight. Yeah. So I mean, I think that could be super fun.
So it's like we have 45 minutes left.
Yeah. So we need to move on.
I'm gonna propose scene 3. Which is they have to make it to the mines, but the plains are being patrolled by somebody who has like I don't know, like a bunch of rabid coyotes at his beck and call or something like that. Like, I don't know, just like you could get a little weird with it, but just like the idea that they're you're I don't know, like there's some kind of set piece in the chase. Somebody is stopping you from getting across the plains. So,
What if would it work to create like a random table here of you roll once or twice on the table and, to cover the journey? Like what do you bump into while tracking down the gang? And that would be one of them.
I like that a lot.
I tend to I don't know, like this is just my style is whenever I see a random table, I just end up picking the thing that I want to do.
Sure. And that's okay too. Like, I do the same thing, but having those options available would be fun.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So like Kyle had rabid coyotes. I guess Andy, what's another thing that could happen?
Yeah. So, a federal patrol.
Oh, okay.
Like just poorly paid ornery soldiers out on patrol. Or they're coming back from hunting. I don't know, from hunting.
No, and they have a stack of wanted posters with your faces on it.
Yeah,
right? So
because you've just been in jail, right? Yeah, so they're a third party that's not interested, and you want to avoid them. Mm-hmm. Or I
swear that town's on fire back there, right?
And it wasn't our fault.
I got to go over there to this mine.
Yeah, I'll throw one out. I like like an old crone, like an old mystical crone who can tell their fortune or tell their future, or just wants to talk to them, or sort of has some eerie, creepy quality to her that
or
that
the
that
old
can help her hinder them.
prospector is singing donkey. Oh boy!
Yeah, it's weird that one just never gets rolled. I don't.
Yeah.
I
really
think
like that
animals,
idea.
like roving predators of some sort, so like a pack of wolves or something like that.
The thing that I will say that is probably different between several of us who started role playing when we were younger is I don't think that most player groups are really into shooting wild animals.
Yeah.
That is kind of a bummer for a lot of people these days. So.
Yeah.
This
is true.
So what if there are a couple? What if there's like 3 quirky people in this gang, and one of them is whatever we call them, Aces High
Card Glide.
Jim or whatever it was.
Hydra.
I just like card sharks.
And what if what if you? So I don't know. Like, what if one of them's like Deadeye Pete? He's like the best sharpshooter in the West, and he's just set up on a hill, like. And he just starts taking shots or something at the PCs from a long ways away.
Ooh, yeah,
I like that too. And I like that. It reminds me of that moment. If we can invoke other movies, who here has seen Silverado?
Indeed, yes.
Well, there's a great moment where that character is played by Danny Glover, and the sheriff, who's played by John Cleese, rides out to capture him, and he like shoots their hats off, and he like shoots the tree next to him and stuff, and his deputy says, "He's not hitting nothing." John Cleese says, "You idiot, he's hit everything he's aimed at." Like but yeah, it's like that one, like he can't resist the challenge. This is another one, like he's not gonna just shoot you dead. He's gonna warn you and call to you and say, like, "I'm the best shot."
That is
give it a shot, but you can't beat me. And he'll like shoot your hat off or shoot a card out of your hand or something, and you have a chance to duck for cover and come up with a plan to get him.
I like that as the approach to the mine quite a bit. Yeah, so that's like, so you get through one of these challenges of some sort. So we'll leave it up to the GM.
Yeah, and what if there's like a wagon train or something that has like that's been stopped by the sniper, so you can like forage for supplies and come up with some kind of plan. So we don't have to say like, well, you didn't bring your bulletproof vest, so you can't do that. So like there's kind of like some people who cut and ran and like left a Conestoga wagon behind with a bunch of stuff.
I like that actually. Yeah.
There's a scene in Lonesome Dove. Sorry to guess John's story made me remember the hero is the bad guys are the hero is holed up with like a rifle and he's taking shots at some bad guys that are coming at him and he keeps missing or something, and so the bad guys decide that he can't aim or whatever, so they get out of from behind cover and they start dancing or whatever, and then you know the rest. Like,
oh, that's good.
Okay, so
it's also it just I'm trying to think about like what you could do. What kinds of things, what kinds of stuff they could do to sneak up on somebody. Like this reminds me of the Sniper Wolf scene from Metal Gear Solid, where love can bloom on the battlefield and all that. But I can't remember anything that could actually apply to this.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll feel quite fully Wild West unless there's some sort of like conflict with nature here.
Sandstorm would be really good here.
So, I mean, it was incredibly hazardous to travel across the open desert and stuff like that. So, for example, what if like rivers were a huge hassle to get across?
Oh, yeah.
So what if there's just a river and then there's snipers on the other side behind the top of the hill or something like that?
It could be raining.
Yeah, or there's a boat on the other side. Like the Sidewinder kid did have a barge. It's on the other side. Good luck. Like he had to get across.
And we have a sheep, a wolf, and a fox.
Yes.
And if the sheep goes over...
The scorpion and the frog are crossing
okay, let me paint a scene.
Paint.
Okay, what if the Sidewinder kid has stolen a train? Stolen an entire train. So there is so there's the mine has some sort of mine cart going to it from a train stop like that, right? So like everybody knows where the mine is. There's a cart going off like that, and they can wheel it up and then dump all the stuff onto the train, and then the train goes back to town like that. So the Sidewinder kid has stolen a train and parked it there. So like you come up to a train parked in front of the 300 feet of minecart track going into the mine, and then the sniper is sort of sitting up on top of the mine, right, shooting at you. So then I think then we have sort of we have the escape plan that sort of gets set for what the Sidewinder kid's going to do afterwards, and then we also have a train, right, that could end up with a some sort of train chase at the end too. What do you think about that?
I think it's good.
Yeah,
I think stealing a train at that point, you don't even need treasure. You have a whole train.
Yeah, well, I mean,
yeah, I think it becomes a little harder to maintain that this is like an out of the way secret if there's like a train service to it. But
yeah,
but maybe it's just old,
like,
really
no,
old,
like
or
the mine
forgotten
is
branch,
there,
right?
Like people are using the mine. I don't think it's an abandoned one. Do you think it's abandoned? I guess maybe that's a good thing to sort of settle on.
I'm sure. I was thinking it was like an abandoned mine that had.
Yeah, I was too. I just assumed, but yeah, that's a good question.
I'm open to whatever. It is hard to resist getting a train in here because that's such an evocative part of the Wild West, right?
Yeah, maybe there's a back.
Not a train, at least one of those things that you have to push two people to push the lever.
There should be a race between two of those, and it's just high rolls. Who can roll strength?
Yeah,
over and over and over. Just
players love that.
Okay, all right. Let's table the train idea. Maybe there's a back secret exit, and then that goes out to the train. Like there's a train.
I just feel like the train is going to derail the adventure.
No.
All right, guys. The episode is done. See you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, all right. So let's back up. Right. So you have horses. You're going across. There's going to be some sort of random encounter. Sniper Wolf is up on top of the mine, taking shots at you.
Chris, could I maybe just propose that you pick the encounter that seems like it'll be the most fun in the moment?
I think
as far as the travel encounter goes.
Yeah, what we'll do is we're gonna write up all of our notes and stuff on this in between this recording and the running of it. So we'll flesh out each of those encounters a little bit and sort of see what the interesting one is that shakes out from there. And then I'll just pick one. I'm not going to roll, but we might include, if we do some notes and stuff that we release to the public, we'll have a handful of these that people can choose from.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Okay, so the Deadeye Pete is taking pot shots at you, so you need to figure out a way past him.
No, I think Pete's the old prospector.
Okay, Pete's the old prospector. Okay.
Right, Kyle?
Oh, yeah. Well, my name's Prospector Pete, and I've got my stinging jackass.
Sorry, I didn't mean to encourage him. I just
yes, yeah. Well, it doesn't take much. So. Okay, then what's the sniper's name? This is actually kind of an important part of all this. If we're gonna have wanted posters.
Yeah, it's true.
It can't be Deadeye Bob. What about a she? We've been saying a lot of he here. What if she's like Deadeye Dixie or Dixie Deadeye? Or something like
that's good.
That's good. Yeah,
that's really good.
So does she have? So is she? Does she just have any old rifle she can pick up and she can shoot it like crazy, or does she have like this crazy custom built?
It's a crazy custom thing that the players could then get an advantage later. Yeah,
I think they could get it, but they would have they would be disadvantaged to fire it. It's so customized to her, but it looks really cool. It's probably very powerful, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Dixie Deadeye, I like that name a lot. Okay, so Dixie Deadeye's up there. Is it possible to get past her without killing her, or do you have to in order to get into the mine?
I think it should be possible to get past her without killing her, but I think we should give her a motive, and then if the PCs can find a way to I mean, what's her motive? Like, does she want to get rich? Is she personally loyal to? I forget the name of our main bad guy. Is she just
not settled on a name?
Is she suspect she's going to get double crossed, and so she's questioning her loyalty? I mean, maybe if we just give her kind of a personality and a motive, that you can see what happens in play if the PCs try to do something other than shoot her.
Like maybe they try to, like that'd be so classic Western, like try to convince her to come over to their side, or say, you know, the Snake Oil Kid is just gonna leave. He's just left you back here. He has no intention of bringing you along with him. You know, so that's another opportunity for role playing.
I think it's a great idea to have the character be revealed through the fact that she keeps shooting off their hats. She keeps shooting at their feet. They're clearly warning shots. Like, she's not a cold-blooded killer. I like that. And also, if there was like a bunch of like wild horses or cattle around or something like that, maybe
cattle
from the
as terrain.
Yeah, right. And they could start a stampede, which would start a dust cloud that they could then approach kind of like invisibly behind.
Or they could talk. Yeah, they have like different options to try to solve the Deadeye Dixie problem.
Yeah, if this gang has been troubling the area for a while, they would have stolen. Maybe this is where they graze their stolen cattle, you know?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just some rancher's cattle that just happen to be here and we're going to take advantage of them. Like either way. Okay. Yeah. Because ranchers city folk is actually attention we've ignored completely, but it's huge in Westerns. So let's throw a rancher in here because it's always got to be.
And maybe the rancher's pinned down. So like, you know, it's just like, get me out of here alive, and you can use whatever's in this wagon or whatever. I don't know. Like there's a couple of different ways to handle that, but I think, you know, we have a half hour left, so I think we move on to area 4. Yeah,
and Chris, I think, as GM, I mean, there's obviously, we've just thrown out a ton of different ideas here, but you'll just have to gauge on the fly. I mean, if that first encounter takes a full half of the allotted time, you know, then just breeze through with a minor encounter on travel and get right to the mine.
Oh,
right?
Yeah,
well, we can't do the minor encounters because we haven't gotten to the mine yet.
Yeah. So shall we move up?
Not miners.
Yeah. Episode's done, guys. For real this time. So shall we?
Strike 2. Right? Yes. Let's get into the mine. Yeah. So I think there's ways we can kind of massage that on the fly. I think to get into the mine.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a vision I just had though?
Of course.
I'm nervous about what's going to come out of your mouth here. Well, go ahead.
So in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, everybody, there's that great moment where River Phoenix and his bugle blowing friend discover the guy stealing the treasure, and I'm sort of seeing like this is like a stealth opportunity for stealth to sneak up on the treasure hunters and sort of decide what to do from there. That's just like, I don't have a specific suggestion there. I just want to put that image in everybody's brain because I think it's so good and would be great.
So like like the party.
Remember they look over and you see the guy in the hat, but it's not really Indiana Jones, and they lift up the cross and they're all hooting and hollering and
no, I like that. Yeah, so I think whatever the actual first shot that they get to see of Snake Oil Kid, they're on a cliff or like, you know, some sort of cave that they can
or the edge of the cave, or like like the nice thing about a mine, it has natural cliffs and caves and turns and corners, and they can sort of sneak up, you know, or try to follow his sound. Like there's an opportunity here to create great atmosphere, right, with an echoey mine. And you hear the sounds of somebody, but you're trying to figure out where they are coming from, and maybe there's sentries, but you've eluded them. And I don't know, I feel like you could create a real mood in this encounter of uncertainty and tracking. So that's the other thought.
And if we were, I like that we haven't, you know, gone into the sort of Weird West territory, but if we were to throw like one kind of weird thing in more as a curiosity than as like a plot thing, it might be fun to do that here at the mine section.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this if this is the late West, there could be dinosaur bones in the mine.
And I love it.
You know,
that would be cool.
That could, because like it started as a mine and then it turned into like dinosaur bone
Yes,
Yeah,
guys, stop me,
excavation.
because now I want it to be like the treasure is actually this is the Bone Wars, and the treasure is actually some rare skeleton that was going to make the town rich. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
what
I
if
think
it's
this is
like
this is
a
why it's
made up
abandoned.
dinosaur.
Yeah, what
This
if
is why
it's
it's abandoned. Yeah. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
what if it's just chock full of fossils and bones? What if it was like a tar pit or something like that in the distant past, and it's just full of dinosaur
and it
stuff?
scared everybody off. But now these
Yeah.
these city slickers are like, we want those bones, and we don't care what you have to do to get them. Like this was literally the Bone Wars. Like people did this. They
That's true.
they
That's
sent
true.
unscrupulous people out west to dig these things up and sneak them back to New York. So that would be a fun.
Is that where archaeology was born?
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
So hey,
Okay,
we're at the
well,
mine.
Okay,
right?
I like just real quick. I like the idea of dinosaur bones, but I think I want it to be like that's why the mine is abandoned, because they started to like find these giant bones, and the preacher was like, absolutely not. Like
It's the
you
devil.
you are not allowed to be in this mine anymore, right? And then like that
Right.
kind of comes to a convenient like you're going to go to what mine? Like you're not. Yeah. So okay.
You're crazy. There's monsters in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
there's-
it's
yeah.
it's the haunting of the mine, but
Yeah.
it's not really haunted. It's just people are terrified of these giant bones and what creatures they were.
So
Yeah.
now, shall we switch into kind of dungeon design mode here?
Yeah, so like looking at the outline that we have right here, the dungeon design, we have room for basically like one thing in the mine, one interesting thing, then the encounter with Snake
Sidewinder
Oil
Kid.
and then yes, Snake Oil, Sidewinder Kid, and then there's going to have to be some sort of exit, right? Like so we don't have like
Yeah.
a ton of room within the mine here.
It could be because we've already had two kind of big potentials for like big action set pieces, or at least things that threaten gunfire. It might even be like a simple choice, like there's an elevator shaft. I don't know if elevators were period appropriate for these kinds of mines, but who cares? But I do think that it would be interesting if like the elevator is already down. And so your choice is, do we make some athletics rolls to see if we can sneak down this elevator shaft, or do we crank the elevator back up and let them know that we're on our way? It's kind of like a sort of interesting choice, but I'm not totally sold on it.
Here's
I
another
like that.
another possibility. If it's an old abandoned mine, so that would be kind of dangerous to traverse. What if there's not really any combat encounters in the mine, but the challenge is that the bad guy has already gone through and like he got over the chasm and he climbed up here, but he has not left like a way across for you. Like you have to navigate in the steps of somebody who came with the right equipment to do this.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of like the elevator idea or the boats on the other side of the river. Like you see how they did it, but that's not available.
Yeah,
to
like
us. How
there's
are
you see
going
the
to do it?
pole he used to climb across the chasm, but it's on the other side.
Yeah, they pulled
Like
it back.
that.
Yeah.
I like John's idea of the boat on the other side.
Okay, so if I like the elevator is down, so you got to sort of decide how to do that. Let's just go with the chasm, right? Like, so there's a chasm and there's like a ladder that's been pulled across to the other side. It's like maybe it's just like you could jump it, but you'd die if you don't make it, right? And just sort of let the players figure out exactly how they want to clear that.
And if we're going to do an elevator, they wouldn't have an actual like powered elevator, so it would be like the world's ricketiest, like
Yes.
Loudest.
like hand cranked, basically a basket or something kind of like humans should never really step into that sort of contraption.
Right, but you fill the basket with rocks, then you take rocks out so it goes up.
Right, and maybe
put
like
rocks
the
in it
miners
as it goes
ride up
down.
and down with the rocks, but that's
Yeah.
and it's like the wheel is squeaky as heck, and it every time you go down you're at least faking die rolls like the thing is going to break, that sort of thing.
I love it.
Faking die rolls. Oh no.
I would never.
I don't know.
Never,
I think
ever.
that's a really good idea. Is like just even like if they use the elevator, like it starts to plummet, and so they have a chance to jump out on the appropriate floor or land on a floor below or something like that, and they cause a lot of noise. But yeah, and their other option would be like to climb down the chains or something like that, or 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 look for another path.
Yeah, maybe there's another path that's very well hidden, right? If they,
yeah.
Or it's really like it just takes a while to get there, right? So it's like I think they're again going back to the time pressure idea on this, right? Like, so if you take that path, it's going to take you an hour to get around versus the mine shaft. It's going to be
So the bad guy is not coming back this way with the loot, right? He has another way out of here somehow.
Yeah, he has another way out, and I think we can get to that. But let's do.
There could be a map in just a very simple map in the mine at the beginning, like next to a lantern that's conveniently still lit or something like that.
Yeah, so like
that way, the choices are obvious, and they're not sitting there planning for a half hour without any more information.
Oh,
like just to drag my river idea back in, like it became clear that there's a river that flows under the mine, and what he's going to do is hop in a boat and escape.
Yep.
Underground rivers are great.
Underground rivers.
That's perfect.
All the time.
Perfect. Okay. That is really great. Okay, so if they do the elevator, do you need the chasm, or does the elevator just go down to like whatever the main room is?
I think we could skip the chasm.
Choice. Okay. Yeah, so it's like the real kind of thinky puzzle in this whole thing is what do you do with the mine shaft elevator?
Right.
And then you get down, and then like let's kind of describe then, is that the room where he's digging up the treasure?
Yeah,
at that point.
Think so.
I don't think we need to have any more like rooms in between this and where he is digging the treasure, but I do think I think it's just it'd be too fun to not use like a twisty, creepy mine to some effect, even if it's just like doing some stage settings. So I do like the idea of them like having to navigate their way through here on his trail a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like there's a light in a room way down, and they have to weave their way back there.
Yeah, like what if they land and like so you land and there's like 10 feet of cave and then it turns like it's a sharp left, right? So you land and you have this like dark expanse and you can kind of see some light coming down from the other end, and then as soon as they get around that corner, like his last henchman is there, and it's like just a guy that has brass knuckles, right? It's just like this big beefy dude that wants to punch everybody.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like could we have an encounter with like the final quirky henchman here? So can I just throw in somewhere around here there needs to be like stacks of rotting and unstable dynamite?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's probably some on the mine, like the mine cart thing or the mine shaft. Okay, so let's describe that. I think I like the idea of like a constrained hallway fight scene with the last hench person. Do you like the idea of like a bruiser? Okay,
yeah,
I do.
I also like the idea that maybe he's got some kind of gimmick where like he has like comically large ears, so he can like he can fight in the dark with using echolocation or something.
He's just called the bat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's too good.
And so like you have to really pay attention to light sources, and that's the thing that he attacks first.
So what if he's called the bat, but he also carries a bat? Like that's what.
Yes. Although, God, would there have been bats at this point in history? Baseball certainly doesn't exist. Cricket might have, though.
I think cricket probably did. I think they had.
If he's British and he has like he has a cricket bat,
that's too good.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. What if he's British? What if he carries a bat? He's got big ears. What would he be in like full like British dress as well? I don't know. Like
I mean, what if he's a former member of some part of the British military or something, and it's a point of pride that he still wears his uniform perfect. I don't know. He's got this really posh
actually
outfit.
I kind of love that.
The first official game of cricket was in 1877, so that is around this time. So
okay. Yeah. When was the first official game of baseball? As long as we're Wikipedia and stuff. Yeah. This is somewhat important because this is the best NPC.
First official game of baseball was 1891.
Okay.
So that would be a little late for this.
But
Okay.
hitting things with a stick goes back way before 1891.
Were they
so
called bats?
Yeah.
Would that joke make any sense?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think anyone's gonna try to derail the entire episode over. Okay, so the bat comes as you turn around the corner. Yeah, and they just have to fight the bat. I don't think at this point they could really talk their way out of it. I mean,
it could just be bats down here too, like. Right? Like there could be squeaky bats that you also are attracted to the light, so they get you to turn out your lantern, and then you have to fight the guy in the dark. This all works.
If it's going to be a straight up combat encounter, and I do like that, since the last two have had at least a good chance of doing kind of socialing your way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the battleground should be tactically interesting. Like, so I'm picturing, people weaving through different side tunnels and stuff like that. And you'll be running this online and we can't break out a big battle grid or anything like that. But what could we add? What's interesting about this fight? Is it that it's dark? I don't know. I would just, let the PCs play with the environment on this one.
Yeah. That's a good point.
If they start making really loud noises, that is just like classic Marvel Comics shenanigans right there. They could throw things to distract him. Like there's a bunch of if you have like a sound based bad guy in a dark tunnel, you have to play his strength as a weakness.
I think that'll just be sort of fun. And I think when I'm running that, I'll take cues from the players, sort of like whatever they want to happen. Can happen pretty easily. It's like you're in the tunnels. There's a guy with big ears and a bat trying to chase you.
And they'll already have they'll have that moment with the this like, okay, we've gotten this person, we've gotten these wanted posters, now it's the guy with big ears, and then once it's all going to come together at that moment. It's going to be a great moment.
I think if they're handed posters, there's no way they are not going to like look.
I'll make the posters. I'll make the posters.
Yes.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Okay.
So just thinking about the genre again, what if every time they're like something significant, the PCs take a significant action, the cave like shakes a little alarmingly, and maybe
really good.
You're not going to actually drop the ceiling on the PCs, but maybe anytime they do some, if they're shooting off guns or if they set off dynamite or something like that, have it get worse each time, just to add that time, that sense of like, how long will this thing stay up now that we've started blowing things up in it?
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think like with the elevator, like I think the chain's going to break when they get down there, right? Like there's going to be like stuff like that's going to happen too. Yeah. Like maybe they get in the entrance and I don't know, there's an avalanche that happens or something. I don't know, right? Like just like kind of keep on closing off paths. I think behind them is going to be a fun way to approach that. So it's like, you're not going to get back the way you came. You're going to have to kind of go through this underground river.
All right, so we've got 15 or 20 or so minutes left, and that's perfect for figuring out the final confrontation, right?
Yeah.
What's the setup here? Like, what's in your mind here? What do you imagine that this is like?
I'm picturing like you get to the end of the cave and it opens up into like a really large space with the river flowing through it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, but I don't know. Like a can't. So there's daylight kind of coming in from the top of this narrow gulch,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and then, but I don't know where. Like, how do you set it up so they don't just come like round the corner and shoot the snake oil kid?
Bear traps. He's set up a bunch of bear traps.
Yeah.
So I like the idea,
he's holding Prospector Pete hostage.
A hostage is a really good idea.
Yeah.
It's the sheriff's son, and then it's a really tense situation. It's just because it's like,
What if the sheriff is there and his arm is totally okay?
That wouldn't make any
Oh.
sense.
I know.
How did you get
No,
here
but it's
first?
exciting.
It's exciting.
So
And
that
he has
in
a gun
John's
drawn
book,
on
that
you.
means go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be simpler. Like he could just have his boot on the treasure, ready to shove it off into the water if you take a step closer.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So it's
Or all of this rotten old dynamite, he could have it wired up like right around the entrance. One more step and I'll hit this plunger. Yeah.
Preparing to fake his own death. Like it's just that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So what is he doing when they? So yeah, what is he doing? Is he just getting the treasure loaded up? Is he waiting for the PCs? Is he like rigging to blow this mine as soon as he leaves? Like, what's he doing?
I think if he's rigging the mine to cover his tracks, so nobody knows like how he got out of there or if he got out of there alive, is good. And the PCs are not after the treasure; they are after him. He is wanted, dead or alive. That is the big MacGuffin. That is how they're going to expunge their record. Is actually getting that guy.
Yeah, so he's going to cross the border after this, start a new life, and he'll be assumed dead in the mine collapse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that gives you a bit of a set piece and something to do, something to worry about as the bullets are flying against, you have 4 players against one guy in a room.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, yeah. So if so he has rigged the place to blow. What if
he's just got sticks of dynamite and he's just chucking them? He's like, stand back. And he like,
that's cool.
That's a little terrifying.
Because you can lob dynamite from safety.
Yeah. I mean, you can. I can. What if he, what if actually when they're going through the mine, if a player is paying attention, they can see that there's been dynamite sort of rigged throughout. So he is actually like rigged the whole thing as they're going through and coming out.
Yeah, I like that. Yep.
Okay.
That
All right.
works.
So he's rigged the whole place to blow. I think he is shoving going back to John's idea, I like the idea of them coming into the room. He has his back to them and he's holding up like whatever the treasure is, right? Like, so it like the sun hits the treasure and like blinds them as they're walking into the room. But I still don't know what the treasure is.
I don't either.
It's a fragment of the true cross.
Okay.
No, we'll just go full Indiana Jones at this point.
I mean, it can be, aliens. If the PCs are after him, the treasure actually isn't that important, right? It could just be gold or conquistador gold or something like that, right?
I mean, I think it's got to be tantalizing to them too somehow. Right. And I think like if it can be a single object, to me, that's a little bit, I don't know. Like if it's the Holy Grail, right? Like then I don't know. There's one thing that you can kind of fight over at that point. Where if it's like gold, it's like, well, I don't know. Is it one piece of gold? Is it 10,000?
Yeah, like the Cross of Coronado is such an iconic. They're fighting and going back and forth and knocking it out of each other's hands and that whole sequence. Yeah.
What if it's a computer? We'll just veer.
Yes. Yeah, it's
the crystal skull of an ancient alien that he's uncovered.
Yeah.
No, I agree, but I like this idea of like it's like the crown. It's the crown of some European nation, and whoever wears it is like the ruler. So I don't know. Like that could be kind of silly, but we already have a lot of like Metal Gear Solid fights in here already. So
I like the idea that the treasure has always meant more to him than like we assume. So there's this big bag of gold, but what he really cares about is that crown that gives you whatever ownership of something, blah blah blah. So I do I do like that picture of him. He reaches in and there's, all that gold or whatever, but the thing that he hoists up into the air is something kind of remarkable and neat. But, it's also, that's pretty Indiana Jones territory too. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think that like the crown, I don't know. Cause if he wants to go go take off to Mexico to retire, like he can't fence that crown, right? Like that's not going to be the thing. So I guess I am now leaning back towards it's just a bunch of gold.
Yeah.
Well, dang it, Chris. What do you want from me?
I don't. Yeah. What I want from you is a treasure that can both be sold, is interesting to him, is not is interesting to the players, like would be something you bury in this, in this
What
place.
what if it is the cross from the church in town? Like,
Okay.
Like, what if it's something valuable to the town that also has monetary value? So for some reason this town had a golden cross, or something, maybe not that, but something that everybody's interested in for a variety of reasons.
Oh, yeah, it's like some sort of like jewel encrusted.
Yeah, or like a solid silver bell, like that would be really, really valuable, but also like an important community fixture or thing.
Yeah, it's like if you melt it down, you can go retire, but it also, like, if it made its way back to town, like everybody would be like, well, we're going to put it back in the church, right? Like,
yeah.
Okay, well, let's table the treasure identity discussion, just so that we can spend a little bit more time on how this final scene is going to play out.
Okay.
And then if we think of something cool about the treasure, let's go for it. Otherwise, Chris, you might need to make a call in the moment of like, is this what is gonna do the PCs want this just to be gold, or do the PCs really need this to be a more and I like that town
George
treasure
Washington's taxidermied dog.
Yeah. I think worst case it is like some sort of heavy like gold cross, right?
Yeah.
And like if the players ask about it, it's like, like, oh, you remember that this is the thing that was hanging in the church, right? It's worth $10 billion bucks, right? Like, yeah, whatever it needs to be.
You love this idea so much. I can tell it in your voice.
I am like thrilled with. I want an artifact, but I also understand that it's not quite right for what this is.
What else do you need for this last thing? This last scene here?
We need like a personality. Okay, so like Slippery Pete. what's this guy's
Slippery
name?
Pete? No, it's not Pete.
No,
Pete
is... it's the old prospector all along, right? Yeah. Okay, so Snake Oil Kid. Mm-hmm. Who is Snake Oil Kid at his core? And is it Sidewinder Kid? I don't. Sidewinder just reminds me of the missile, and that just kind of, I don't know, takes me.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's going to be Snake Oil Kid.
All right.
That would be good, because like if he starts coming at you with his silver tongue and kind of like he gets you talking, and he tries to talk you into switching sides, or like all you have to do is shoot one of your buddies in the leg and you can come with me and be free in Mexico, like this whole thing is like that. You can totally play a final boss encounter as a social encounter if you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Like, what if he actually is a snake oil salesman too?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think he's probably got like a bunch of, potions and tinctures and things like that, right? That he'll try to offer you stuff that he'll like, if he's in a firefight, he'll start drinking stuff that you don't know what's going to do to him.
Yeah, and he's just convincing. Like, you could have the players at risk of being persuaded by him.
Mm-hmm. So is this so what makes it challenging if the PCs approach it as a combat encounter? What makes it challenging? If it's 4 against 1, and what makes it challenging?
I think then the dynamite comes out. Yeah. Then he's got the hand grenades. So they can't just rush him.
Yeah. So I think he can blow the place up, and like the only way to stop him from blowing it up would be to cross the river to go get to him to stop it.
Yep.
Which they could do. I mean, they could find some way to drop him before he can blow the place up. Or if he does, then it's a different situation at that point, right? Then they have to try to escape the place.
They're really calling your bluff at that point, is the DM.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea that he's like I like the idea that he's chucking dynamite not at the PCs, but at like the support column, like at support like things too, holding up the roof or something like that. I mean, something you could Blades in the Dark clock, sort of. Yeah,
I like that.
Like, because if obviously dynamite hits a PC, they just die.
Okay, so so what are the ways that you could he's got to be able to survive at least one combat round. Otherwise, it's going to be a pretty, pretty simple. So his goal is to get the treasure that he has in his hands. Right, he wants to get that onto the boat and then jump on the boat. Right, so there's like a boat tied up in this river. The PC's goal is to kill him or take him alive and get him out of here. And then secondarily, they can do something with the treasure if they want to. At that point,
there's gotta be at least some cover that he can get behind, so that it's a shootout and not just like 4 people take him down in the first round.
Yeah, what is he? If he gets away, I mean, I guess we could deal with that. Now I'm kind of wondering, like, would it be fun to have some sort of like boat chase finale too?
Right? Yeah, they're riding around on like pieces of timber that have fallen from the support beams and everything. They're paddling after him.
Yes. Okay. Well, maybe I'll accidentally have everything explode. We can see.
There you go. Right
there.
Yeah.
Okay, so they can. I think that they can take him out. Like maybe it is a Blaze in the Dark style clock, right? Like he has six hit points of some variety. So even if they got 6 lucky shots on him, he's not gonna go down necessarily on the first round.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think to me, it's like him saying like, "You're working for this sheriff, and what? Like he's gonna clear your name, sure, but like." You
still got nothing.
You still got nothing. Versus, it's just like, if you come with me, you can live like a king. And it's kind of like, so it is, I don't know. That seems like sort of like you don't really owe the sheriff anything unless you plan on sticking around, which you don't have to do because of the social mobility that, non-fiat currency offers.
Yeah. Oh boy. You're teetering
Kyle,
on to strike 3 here.
Yeah, that is compelling.
Yeah. Tell me more. Okay, so I think right. So he will try to convince them. If he does manage to convince them, he's going to double cross them immediately. Right. So like they're going to get on the boat. He's going to sink the boat somehow and swim away. He's going to try to get them on there first, blow it up. Like what have you. Right, so there's going to be, I think there will just have to be some tension there of like he's always going to be looking for the double cross. As soon as he can convince you, he's going to try to double cross you.
Yeah, if you want to make that villain, why don't you join me instead? Speech, if you want to make that interesting, I think you need to have made sure the PCs have. I'm thinking about my last Alien game. Where in the third act, everybody had these competing secret agendas, some of them very opposed to each other. And in the third act, it became impossible for those agendas not to clash with each other, so it was chaos. Like, if the PCs have been conscious that they are pursuing their own objective through this whole adventure, I think... they will weigh seriously like the pitch that the bad guy gives them. Like they will ask themselves seriously, does this get me closer to my goal if I say yes to this guy or not? If you haven't been playing up here's what your actual motivation is, I think the default, most PCs are going to do the kind of default heroic, like, yeah, right, we're going to just shoot you move. So I don't know. I would just, if you anticipate wanting this to be like a tense scene where the PCs are really thinking long and hard about what to do, I think you need to have seeded that by giving them some motivations, some of which might be helped by like accepting the bad guys. Just
that's a good point. Yeah, I think I'm trying to decide internally, like, do I care if they do the right thing or not? And I think in this adventure, I don't necessarily care if they're going to do the right thing. Like, it's not like an evil campaign or whatever, right? It's like more like, this is your choice. Like, what are you going to do? And like, this guy is still going to try to double cross you. So the end result is probably going to be you putting a bullet in him.
I think the way to, I don't know, there's a way to do this where like you ask everybody to make a choice, and on the count of 3, everybody puts up a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Yeah.
And it becomes like, oh, is the shootout actually between me and some of the other players? That could be pretty interesting. And then you could also just like have there be other gang members in here. So it's not just like 4-on-1. You can, there's like a couple of ways to play it. So it's like you have this tense offer situation where, you know, it's just like any, you know, if you, all I'm asking you to do is you know, step, is to step forward to join our gang. And if people step forward, then they outnumber the bad guys. So it kind of has to be like a unanimous thing. It's sort of like a prisoner's dilemma kind of situation.
Ooh, I like that a lot. Yeah. Okay.
But so then it could also turn into just like one last, you know, like heroic, you know, blaze of glory moment as well.
Yeah.
And then you could build in stuff like, let's say you do just shoot him. Well, then the item, the treasure, the cross, falls in the water, and now you've got to jump in and get it. And then there's additional. So even if they get him with one shot, you can add additional.
That's a good way to do it.
Tension to it.
That's really good, John.
I also really like the idea.
I'm really good at this, Kyle.
I know. Well, but you're my favorite GM. Why do you need extra validation? I was just
all the time. It never stops.
You know, what we should do is we should all run this and then allow people to vote on who did it best.
Ooh, that'll be like a whole year of content. That's great.
Okay, so I'm also thinking like with that moment of like everybody step forward who wants to join me. Like, what if he has like a tripwire right in front?
Oh,
so
that's so good.
They all step forward, and then it blows the
That's amazing.
So
actually.
Good. Oh my!
I love that.
Okay, all right. So that's a lot of really good ideas, right? Okay, so you come in, he's gonna immediately give you a choice. You know, join me or not, right? As soon as he sees you. And then if they choose to join him, they blow the place up, right? Like whatever. You know, otherwise it's gonna be a firefight. I think at that point, timing wise, we'll kind of determine whether or not there's other goons in that room at that point. Yeah. John, like you said, like if they shoot him dead round one, he drops the treasure into that. Maybe he drops his body too in there. And it's like, well, you got to bring something.
Yeah,
back.
You got to have them.
That's
dead or alive. You still need proof, right?
Yeah. You need proof positive that you got him.
Cool. Yeah. So I think that's going to be a little bit seat of the pants. I'll probably, like when we're writing it up, we'll write out a couple different scenarios of stuff that can happen. And then the cadences will be sort of up to the GM to decide like how much of that you want to throw at them. Although, I mean, this sounds like, to me, this does sound like the most interesting part of the adventure. So I think that's like a good part to end on too.
Yeah.
Other than,
it could go in lots of ways. Yeah.
Yeah. It could go in like lots of interesting ways. And even like even if it's just a shootout, I think that's still going to be fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they drop him, they get the treasure back. Like there's probably like, you know, the mine's collapsing, so they go out the river in some way, and then they can just make their way back to town at that point.
Or not.
Yeah, I think the epilogue is they decide what they're going to do from there.
Yeah, what if you just ask each PC to just describe what their PC does as they head off into the sunset?
Where are you 2 months from now? What are you doing?
Ooh, that's good.
That's a good one.
Real quick. Yeah, it's sunset 2 months from now. Where are you?
Yes. Yeah, you've all jumped in the river. Like, yeah, you're floating away, and then fade to black, and then come back.
Did anybody listen to the? Just as a digression, I'm going to make you edit something, Chris. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to edit this.
But anybody listen to the actual play where they did Night's Black Agents on one shot?
I think I listened to the first one. Yeah.
Well, the great thing is there were 3 players, there were 3 characters, and at the end, Ken Haidt, who's actually running the game, says to one of the players about the other 2 players, he's like, "Well done, you've accomplished the mission. Now, Lawrence, eliminate them." You know, and then it's fade to black, right? Like there's just a wonderful moment of So anyway.
That's really good. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So I think that's good for the structure of it, right? Do we want to sort of like talk through it one last time? Does anyone have any other kind of, okay. Does someone else want to do it, or you want me to go for it?
Yeah. Why don't you briefly go through it? And then maybe we could come up with a name.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. So the rough outline I have is sort of like, you start in the jail. The sheriff deputizes you to go take down this gang, right? Like they've stolen. Okay, I guess this is actually a good point. Have they stolen a map? Like, how is the gang kicking off this whole adventure, right? Like, so this is Snake Oil Kid's gang. Like, did they steal a map or did they just attack the town?
I can't relive this conversation.
I know.
I don't think they need to steal the map. I think they are here to stop the sheriff. Yeah. Like they are here to hobble the local constabulary.
Okay, great. Okay,
that's cool. Funny that we made it all the way through and never really clarified. Like,
I know, right?
Yeah,
this is why we do the recaps. Okay.
Yes, nice to know.
Okay. They've stolen the map. They have shot the sheriff. They've shot the mayor. They've lit half the town on fire. The sheriff stumbles in, unlocks the door, says, like, if you can, dead or alive, get Snake Oil Kid, I will expunge your records of all of your wrongdoings. Go right now. He's at the abandoned mine out on the outskirts of town. So then from there, they need to find a way to travel to the mine. So that's going to be horses of some sort. All the horses are in a stable like that. And that is where they will meet their first gang member, Aces High. Are we Aces High?
Oh, I like that.
That works.
Yes. Yep, Aces High, the gambling man. Aces High will gamble with them for each horse that they want by drawing off the top of the deck to see if there's a high card there. So every high card that they win, they'll get a horse from there. So they can decide to just kind of gamble their way. They can kind of talk to him to make him gamble about something else, or otherwise shoot him to get the horses.
So each of these, by the way, each of these named henchmen has to have an accent.
Yeah. So sorry, Chris, you're going to have to.
What is Aces High? What's his accent? So we know the Bat has a British accent. I'm guessing Deadeye Dixie or whoever it was has a Southern Belle accent.
Yeah.
What's this guy got?
I don't know. What would Aces High have?
He reminds me of Lance Hendricks from The Quick and the Dead, so he'd have to be I think he's just like an upper class guy. Like,
okay.
What if he's
like this is all a novelty to him? Like,
yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like that.
Okay.
A lot. He's excited. He's like, this is his first.
Yeah, sorry for the disruption. Go ahead.
No, that's good. Okay, so Aces High, you can take care of him, whatever you want, and then there's going to be some sort of travel sequence, and this is going to be the roll on the table. So we'll have a number of things here. Federal agents. There's some sort of mystical crone. There's a sandstorm. Whatever that is. This is going to be the part where, depending on time, this might just get cut entirely.
I would just cut it personally. I think there's enough.
Yeah, I think that's pretty smart.
Yeah, there's no cool hench person, so why bother? Okay, so then you're riding, and then as you're riding, someone's hat gets shot off, whatever, right? And that's where Dixie Deadeye shows up. So yes. Dixie Deadeye is a sniper. She's sitting on top of the mine entrance, and she is going to harass you to try to make you go away. She doesn't want to kill you, but she definitely doesn't want you to enter the mine. So then it's up to the players to decide how to get past her.
Yeah.
At that point. Once they're inside, there is a lit lantern with a map of the mine, a very video game lighting style setup here. With an exclamation point above it, and it's like outlined in yellow.
Seems to fill out as you walk through the mine.
Yes, yeah. So your mini map will show you that you can either go down the elevator, or that there's some sort of like winding path that you can also take that also gets down to the same spot. The elevator is going to be the most tantalizing option there because they don't have a whole lot of time. So they're going to go down. Once they solve that puzzle, they will have an encounter with the Bat
That's
in
right.
the tunnels, right? And so the Bat has large ears. You can kind of hear all their movements and has a bat that he swings. And maybe for a fact there will also be bats in the tunnel as well that can fly around.
Excellent.
And then once they get past the bat and then get into the main room. So this is the main room. It's like a gulch, right? Like, so there's like a river going through it. On the other side of the river, this is where we see our main villain, Snake Oil Kid, for the first time. So Snake Oil Kid is holding the Golden Cross. Gives them the choice of join me, join me or die, join me or turn back. From there, right, lots of stuff can happen, right? So like he has rigged the place to blow up. There is the chance that he might there's henchmen. There is support structures that he might be blowing up. He has TNT he can throw. All that he will try to double cross them at any way he possibly can. So their goal then is to take him out, to either get proof that he's dead or to bring him back alive, and then they can do what they want with the treasure. And we will fade to black from there.
Yeah.
Chris, that sounds great the way you relate it like that. I think that's a really solid adventure.
I think
I have a question.
You only forgot the dinosaur bones, and then you'll.
Oh,
Yeah,
you forgot dinosaur bones. Thank you.
Also, here's what we're going to spend the next 30 minutes talking about. What is the name of the town?
That's a good question. You really are going to spend the next 30. I'd almost rather name the adventure than the town.
Well, see, if we can name the town, you can just call it Incident at whatever the town name is.
Yeah. Incident at, I mean, like, okay, so like, what are the things that the town would be named after? I mean, it could be named after this lost treasure, right? Like the dinosaur bones is another good option.
Dry Bone Gulch.
Sounds like a Mario level.
Yeah, that does sound like a Mario level. Do you know about John? You're not a video game player. Do you know about Dry Bones? Like that's an actual Mario thing. Okay.
Well, I rather than kind of us sit here and kind of brainstorm, I think there's three things that would benefit that would be helpful to name, like between now and the time you run this adventure. If someone has a great idea, go for it. The town, the mine, because mines always have quirky names, and that can be something really goofy, and then the adventure itself.
I think the mine is called something like Harrowing Bones Mine, like
What about the Wishbone Mine?
The Wishbone Mine.
The Wishbone Mine. That's good.
Yeah,
actually.
it would just be called like the Wishbone.
Yeah,
the Wishbone Mine. Okay.
The town of Wishbone is actually pretty good. Although if it just Wishbone by itself does remind me of that PBS show about the dog who read books to us.
I'm not mad about that either, though.
What's the name of the adventure is What's the Story, Wishbone?
Yeah. What's the story? Okay, so you're all dogs. Okay.
That's what we're doing next year. Everybody's a dog.
Oh my goodness, that's actually really good. Okay, so Wishbone Mine. I think I like the idea of the adventure itself being called like the Sonnet of the Snake Oil Gang, or something like that. Like
Sunset on the Snake Oil Gang, or
the Snake Oil Gang. What do you call them? The Snake Oil Gang?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. It's like the Snake Oil Gang's final score, something like that. I don't know. Like,
yeah, that's something that would work. I think I see I like the vibe you're going for there,
or just Snake Oil's final score, or something like that.
Snake Oil's final score.
The last swig of snake oil. That's a little more noir, but
yeah. Yeah. Okay, we got to name the town though. I think this is important. We can't leave the listeners hanging. Because remember, we have been recording this the entire time.
No.
Yeah.
The town.
So I'm just looking at some old West town names: Silver City, Calico.
Mm-hmm. I think the town has to be related back to whatever the treasure is. I think for sure.
Oh no, we still don't have a great thing for that.
Yeah, this is I'm just trying to get.
I think we just call the town of Tumbleweed and forget it. Let's just,
How about Forget Me Not for the town?
Ooh, that's not
perfect.
right.
Actually, I like that.
That works. Yeah. That works really well. Actually,
that's a flower, right? Maybe those flowers.
It is
all around town. Yeah.
Wait, those flowers weren't invented until 1980.
Thank you, historian Kyle.
John, can you write us a 10-page backstory for the town name in between now and the time?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
So actually, the flower, forget-me-nots, is known by it is a family of flowers called the scorpion grasses.
Whoa!
Yeah. It's very
Scorpion grass is a good name for a town.
Old West.
That is a much better name, scorpion grass. Scorpion grass.
Why'd you name the town that? Well, we wanted to call it Forget-Me-Nots, but then somebody started up on Wikipedia, and we just...
that daggum internet's ruined everything.
Yeah.
This is a nice place before the internet and Twitter.
Yeah.
We had nothing to do but watch the old prospectors singing cow and...
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I think we should declare mission accomplished here and wrap up.
Yeah, I think so. That's really good. Yeah. So, as we've mentioned, we're actually going to run this thing. So in between now and then, we'll be putting together some notes. Sounds like Kyle's volunteered to make some wanted posters, which I think will be super fun. Yeah,
and a mind map.
Yeah, let me know if you want me to do pre-gens or anything else.
I think so. I think it'd be nice to have some pre-gens, right? And I think going over the things that are important, right, would be going back to that, the Prison Break game. Like what are you in for? Did you do it? I think those are two really strong questions there. And then maybe just some like archetypes of, like the sorts of people you might see in the Wild West as a starting point there. Although, we can, I don't know, like going back to what Kyle said right in the beginning, I think sticking to genre is going to be important here. So I think we can have some of those, like I sort of know who this is because I've seen one.
Yeah, the independent woman who owns the bar in town, and we can come up with a bunch of characters that people will recognize. Yeah,
I think that's good. And then maybe we chatted a little bit about guns. I like Kyle's idea of it being a bit of a resource management thing. Like you don't just have infinite bullets. So maybe we'll do get some more Wikipedia research on like what are a handful of interesting weapons that they could have.
And like, and we could always have the bad guys have guns that have a different caliber of bullet than any, like there's ways to get around this, but also like Dixie has a sniper rifle, the Bat has a bat. And as long as if we just give like a big rusty knife to the high Ace's high, we can't, we're not even equipping our people with guns other than the ones that they get from the sheriff's department. So. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Ace's High is like sort of a dilettante, so he probably has like two little Derringers or something.
Right? Ooh,
like,
exactly.
They're totally useless, but I mean, they're useful in a
just make sure he fires them both before he goes down.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay. So I think that's fun. Is there... Yeah, so if we have some pre-gens, I think we have a good idea of like who the NPCs are. The sheriff probably needs a little bit of work about like who the sheriff is, so it's not just generic sheriff. Does he throw them all like deputy badges too? I think maybe.
Honestly, it's enough. It's enough that they're trying to expunge their criminal record.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah, and we've got the name, the Wishbone Mine. Scorpion Grass is the town. Snake Oil's final score.
Nice.
All right. Well done, guys.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all so much. This was super fun. I will give you a chance to say goodbye in your own words as well, but just give me a second. So this has been Roll for Topic. And again, thank you, Splatbookers, for joining us. Splatbookers? Yeah, I'm gonna go like
Flatheads, I think is what we were trying to do.
Yes. The Flatheads. Yeah, for joining us on this. This is like we mentioned, this is a yearly tradition. You can go back and listen to the other ones, but it's been such a delight to get to do this with I think you two for a couple years running. So I hope we get to do it even more. So stay tuned. You can listen to, well, I guess at this point you've listened to this one, but yeah, you can go and actually listen to the actual play. That will come out a couple weeks after this one. So cool. All right. Well, John and Kyle, why don't you say your names and say goodbye?
I've been John Corey. Thank you so much for having me on your show once again this year. I look forward to doing the all-dog adventure next year.
Yes.
And yes, thank you all for watching. This has been Kyle Latino. And doing these with John for the last couple of years is why there is a Splatbook. So I'm very happy to continue this annual tradition.
Oh, well, that makes me feel really good. Cool. All right. I've been Chris Salzman.
I've been Andy Rao.
Remember, if your players are having fun, you're a great GM.